Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org.
We are facing the most serious threat to public media in history. Right now, the White House is trying to rescind already approved funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, money that keeps stations like ours running. Without it, essential local journalism, trusted reporting, and podcasts like this are all at risk. If you value public media, speak up now. Visit boisestatepublicradio.org/funding to learn more and take action.
More Idaho Matters from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. Across the country, more than 14 million loved ones care for the nation's wounded warriors. But these hidden heroes often face gaps in support that leave them struggling. And that's why, for the last decade, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation has been championing the needs of military caregivers. And this year, Heidi Monroe was selected to represent Idaho as part of the 2025 class of Dole Caregiver Fellows. She's joining Idaho Matters now to talk about how the fellows are working together to drive change for those who care for those injured while serving in our military. Heidi, it's really nice to have you on the show.
Hi, thanks for calling. Thanks for
So,
inviting
Heidi,
us in.
absolutely. Before we dive into your work as a fellow, what brought you into the world of military caregiving?
So I have a 28-year-old daughter that was injured in a car accident in December of 23. She's active duty military. She ended up first in a civilian trauma center, and then they moved her into military hospitals and VAs.
How did your personal experience inspire you to advocate for other military caregivers?
Yeah, so my daughter's name is Vanessa. She was injured and hospitalized in Baltimore, Maryland. She had a severe car accident with a horrific traumatic brain injury. So originally, the trauma doctors they did surgery, but unfortunately, they told us she wouldn't make it, and that if they took her off life support, she would probably be in a coma for the rest of her life. So they did take her off life support, and she ended up breathing on her own and surviving. So they told us in Baltimore, the best we can offer you is take her back to Idaho, put her in long-term care, and see what happens. They predicted at least a year in a coma, but probably the rest of her life. But the military stepped in and they were like, wait a minute, we have Walter Reed in Bethesda, Walter Reed Military Medical Center, right down the road. Let's take her there and see what we can do. Hope for the best. So she went into Walter Reed. They stabilized her. She was doing better. They moved her to they call it a emerging consciousness program at the Richmond VA Medical Center, where she spent about the next 6 months coming out of the coma, and then just keeps getting better. So during, the first at Walter Reed and then at the Virginia VA, her progress has just, it's baffled everyone, including the surgeons. So because she's military, she, and she was in a hospital, that wasn't quite enough. Somebody had to be there with her all the time to kind of make sure she was getting the best care she needed and advocating for her. So that's what took me to it.
And how has being a caregiver impacted your day-to-day life?
Yeah, so I was also in the military. And ironically, I was in military medicine. I'm a military medical provider. I just retired after almost 40 years. The reason I retired a little bit earlier than expected was because I wanted to take the time to make sure she was getting everything she needed. So I was actually up for promotion to general officer and decided to retire and take care of her. Obviously,
Mhm.
family always comes first.
So, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation plays a really large role in supporting military caregivers. Can you talk to us a little bit about the mission of this organization?
Yeah, so there are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there that people may have heard of, like Semper Fi or Wounded Warrior, that does a lot for the recipients, for the injured, sick and injured service members. But the Elizabeth Dole Foundation is different in that it's doing more to advocate for better benefits, better legislation, make sure that people are getting what they want or what they deserve with the military. And so it's more focused on changing things that need to be changed than providing individual, um, resources to people,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
It does. And you were chosen to represent Idaho, as I mentioned, in the 2025 class of Dole Caregiver Fellows. So, what does that mean to be selected as a fellow?
Yeah, it's a really, I think, prestigious. I don't know if it's an award, but prestigious appointment.
Recognition. Yeah.
What the Elizabeth Dole Foundation knows is that the people that run it aren't necessarily the people that need the benefits and the legislation and policy changes. So, what they do is take people that are actually living with the service members that need the help. So, they've tried to, I think, first they tried to get somebody spread out geographically. So, there was somebody in every region of the US and then maybe every state, but they've gotten even more so. I think they chose me because Idaho has been fairly underrepresented, but also my background with the Idaho National Guard. They, in the past, have focused more on active duty military members and veterans. Haven't had a lot of experience with the Guard. Of course, we know in Idaho that is a very big aspect of our military. And then also, Vanessa is still active duty. And I think right now I might be the only one caring for a service member trying to maneuver through the active duty system and not necessarily the VA system.
Mm. What are some of the biggest gaps in support that you're seeing?
I think the hard, well, there are many, but the biggest for us was the fact that the civilian um, medical system and the VA medical system and the military medical system don't specifically talk to each other. So it's hard, particularly for people in Idaho, I'm sure, when we don't have a significant military medical facility to know what's available. Um, and so that's hard. Most of what I learned of what's available for my daughter, I've learned from other caregivers, not from the
Mm.
military, not from the VA, and certainly not from the civilian system. Um, so we're trying to make sure that not only are the service members getting what they need, but the people that are caring for them get what they need.
Hmm.
And then as we learn more about the caregivers who typically have had to quit their job or, stop going to school, a lot of them are very young, you know, husbands or wives taking care of their loved ones. They're out of the workforce, they're out of going to college maybe, but they also have young children who are now um, kind of into this caregiving role. So their main focus are on the emotional and mental wellness of not only the service member, but the caregivers and their children. And then what do you do about all the lost income and the lost ability to go to college for those caregivers? And how do you maneuver through a system that you may not have known anything about and try to do it and make sure you're getting the best information? So in Idaho, I'm hoping to reach out to all the military caregivers and help us support each other and learn more what's available to each other or for their service members.
And Heidi, before I let you go, for anyone who's listening right now who does want to support military caregivers, what are some ways that they can do that?
So, first of all, I would say to probably go to the Elizabeth Dole Foundation website, and that's just going to be www.elizabethdolefoundation.org, and see what we're doing. But also, if you're listening now and know of military members, whether they're currently active duty, where they were guard, veterans that are taking care of their loved ones and don't know that there are resources out there, direct them to that site. Or I'll leave you with my information as well. Reach out to me. There was is another Elizabeth Dole Foundation fellow from a previous year in Idaho, Lindsay Anderson, who could help as well. And whatever the question is, if we don't know the answer, we can find someone that does. One of the big things is like ALS, Parkinson's disease, some of the brain cancers. A lot of people find out they have these things later in life after they're no longer in the service. That may be military connected, and they know it, but they can't convince the medical system. So we have people that can help them get the information they need and get the benefits they need.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. We've been speaking with Heidi Monroe, a 2025 Dole Caregiver Fellow, who is leading advocacy efforts for military caregivers. I'm Gemma Gaudette, and this is Idaho Matters.
Planet Money helps you understand the economy. We find the people at the center of the story.
Garbage in New York, that was like a controlled substance.
We show you how money influences everything.
Tell me what you like by telling me how you spend your money.
And we dig until we get answers.
I had a bad feeling you were going to bring that up.
Planet Money finds out. All you have to do is listen. The Planet Money Podcast from NPR.